interest, and thank you for posing this question. But please, yeah, what is going on? I have to do some justice because I am registering who was, well, asking for the floor in a certain sequence. So, madam, you have the...
Well, thanks very much for the very interesting lectures. I'm Marion van Schaik. I'm working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It includes development cooperation, so it's always good to hear some critical voices on how we, as ministry, are spending our money. So I'd like to continue this discussion. And one of the things is that you mentioned that the ICPD made us forget about the development agenda because it focuses too much on human rights. So, well, that to me hurts because I think that it was a breakthrough because before that it was much about population control, and I mean the methods that were being used were forced upon people. Now it's a matter of choice, and I think that was very important in this whole paradigm change. So well, in the beginning of your speech I was a little bit scared actually, but then you came in the end back to the unmet need indeed, that it can be sort of married again with the development focus. So I'm glad about that. My question, it relates a little bit to your question, okay, so how to continue? If we are going to indeed try to decrease this unmet need, are there any scenarios? You talked about the cost when responding to the question of France, that it is very worthwhile making the investment, but are there any scenarios of, how many years, taking also the case of Bangladesh, if you combine it with political will, how many years can it will it take to bring this unmet need down, and what will be the effect on development?
Very good, and I want to express our gratitude that for the contribution of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which enables us to have this series. Professor Cleland, you in the premier, you want to react?
The example of Kenya suggests it can be achieved quite quickly. Mind you, Kenya is not Niger. I mean, it was much more educated with lower mortality even in 1980 than Niger today, and I wouldn't think that you would make any dent on the birth rate in Niger or Mali or Chad or Burkina Faso, the really least developed African countries, for a decade. But you have to start, and you have to win people over. I repeat, and including men. But of course, nearly all contraceptives are designed for women. That is a sad fact. So women are going to be the clients or the customers, but men have to be on board attitudinally and emotionally. So in some African countries, I think you could achieve a lot very quickly. And there's one African country at the moment that has decided the time has come to do something about it, and that's Rwanda. And it'd be very interesting to see whether Rwanda actually achieves a big reduction in unmet need. And I'd love to see if Museveni in Uganda is replaced by a more sane president who takes the huge trebling of population, you know, from 35 million today to 120 million by mid-century that's projected for Uganda, starts worrying about that in terms of job creation, educational provision, and so on and so forth. It'd be very interesting to see how quickly you could make a difference in Uganda, because Uganda has one of the highest unmet needs in Africa. So I think in some countries a lot could be achieved pretty quickly with basically a mobilization of the population in favor, but that requires the cabinet, the president, the prime ministers on board. Foreigners can't do that.
Joris, if you want to react.
Thank you. Two brief remarks. First of all, I think that male political leaders and opinion leaders and role models like sports heroes can make a tremendous impact if they openly and frequently talk before large audiences and television and advocate the use of condoms in Africa. And elsewhere, of course, but I'm focusing on Africa because that's where, relatively speaking, the problem is largest. Also because, of course, it then reduces the number of sexually transmitted diseases. Secondly, I hope that the current investments in trying to find a cheaper a cheaper and easy to distribute female condom will succeed. I hear that the indications are that there is a high chance of success. The World Population Foundation and Oxfam Novib, supported by the Netherlands government, but also Scandinavian sources, are trying to invest in this, and if it would bring what we all hope, it might make quite a difference, and quite rapidly, because that's what we need, and hopefully at a low price, so that it is accessible and available to large numbers of women. It also has the side benefit of increasing female autonomy and not being dependent on male decisions.
Very good. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 people who wanted to have the floor. I have to combine, apologies for that, I have to combine the interventions and well, pose them. Not all can be answered at length, of course, but we are in an ongoing series. Frans, of Wouter, yeah, Mr. Meijer. And then Mr. Van Ginneken.
I'll be quick. Wouter Meijer, World Population
And then
Foundation.
you, yeah. Well, I'm trying to do justice to everybody. Say.
Dr. Cleland, thank you very much for your excellent lecture. Very clear and much appreciated. At the end of the lecture, you contrasted, it seemed to me, the rights arguments and those who plead for them with the development arguments.
The marriage of, yeah.
And I like to argue that there seems to me considerable consistency and harmony between the two, and they actually go and should go hand in hand. Wasn't the world in the 50s, after the World War, when we started this concept of development cooperation, considerably inspired by one of the guiding documents, the 1948 Universal Declaration for Human Rights? Wasn't Kofi Annan and the UN inspired in 2000 when they came up with this new development the document for the Millennium Development Goals, by a view and a vision on rights and dignity? I think we can easily build a bridge between the two, as many developers and also economists are doing. For instance, 6 years ago, and then I will close, our organization, World Population Foundation, organized a conference in Amsterdam on the topic reproductive health and rights, key to poverty reduction. And there was no light or no difference or no contrast between the two. So I would like to offer that thought.
And if the rights movement is strong enough, it will be taken up by the politicians as well and translate into priorities. Professor Dr. Van Ginneken.
My question is to John Cleland, and it relates to the importance of to decline fertility in, for instance, especially in African countries. Now you mentioned the case of Niger, where you have this very high fertility, but you also put down in the same table that the infant mortality rate was 145. 145 must also be one of the highest in Africa. And my question is then, how important are programs to